We're tying all these things together. Yes, we are talking about stuff we talked about before because it's all connected. Yes, it is. I feel like we've been here for 5 minutes, and so it's been. We all think about heaven as being some external place. What if heaven is a mindset? What if heaven is a mindset? Why can't that be a mindset? Right? And the fact that, like, now I know, which is incredibly sad that it had to get to this point, but my grandmother had to pass on to become energy to which I needed to look at her in a different perspective, to where she's in the hearts of all of us, so that she can be expressed through us. Like, she had to pass on from her physical body in order for me to have that level of appreciation for her and her moments of inspiration that live in me and live in all of the people that she's touched in her entire life. That's sad in and of itself that we have to do that. People have to die before we realize that their inspiration and their energy, and then what that's done to building our character and living within us in every present moment, where we choose to operate in the way they operated, because we realized and saw the truth in that and the value in that and the love in that. Right? And so it's so incredible. But at the same time, I'm so grateful, because now I can talk to her all the time. She's here. And I know she's here. I know she's here. I know she's here. Just like I know she was there when I was finished polishing her obituary, and I happened to send it to my aunt and the time it was sent was 2/19, which is my birthday. And I just started crying. It was like I knew she was grateful, that it was something that it was just right. And I had done another version, and I had to add a few things, just like the Beatles. They got to refine the song. They took them 32 takes to get Octopus's Garden right, which isn't even one of their biggest hits. Right? So, in the second attempt of crafting and telling the story like it is for what my grandmother's inspiration has been through life, and that she's not gone. She ain't gone. She's here. She's here bigger than in any way she's ever been, I think, because that's the only way we can see her now. Otherwise, she's in the ground. She always used to say, she always wanted lights on all the time. Always, I don't want to be in the dark. I'll be in the dark enough when I'm dead. She used to say that all the time. So her physical body is going to be in the ground, in the darkness. And where is she? She wouldn't accept that. She wouldn't accept that. So she will be the light. She is the light, and she will continue to be the light for all of the people that again, she touched her in her life, and all the people that I'm speaking to here today. And thank you so much for listening to the story of my grandmother, my grandma. I love you, Grandma. And I know there's every one of us have a story similar for other people in our lives that we've loved and we've lost, and we continue to love, and we continue to feel that pain that they're not here anymore, but they're here. They're here. They're here. I promise you. And I feel it in my heart, and I know, and I just feel, and the funny thing is that every time I've cried, I feel that I've cried because she's with me, and she's telling me it's okay to cry. And it's just like, I just feel her now. I feel her with me. I feel her now. And I'm holding back, holding back a little bit, but I know she's here. And I know she was here the other day when, can't remember if it was the day that she passed or the day after, but I was meditating and my arms just went in a circle, and I felt like I was hugging her, and she was there, and I opened my eyes and I didn't see anything, but I didn't care because I knew her energy was there, and I could feel her, and I felt like I was hugging her, and I just cried and cried and cried, and I was just And I was trying so hard to not let them be tears of sadness, but to let them be tears of gratitude, because I don't want to. I'm feeling, so I'm thinking in that moment and I'm feeling in that moment. I don't want my feeling of my memory when I'm hugging my grandmother and with her energy to be that I'm feeling sadness. I do not want that. I choose no, absolutely not. No, not going to happen. Not going to happen. I am choosing to be grateful that her energy is with me always. Her energy is in my heart. And as we opened up with the trailer in the beginning, if this is a universal intelligence, that's part of me too. We're all part of each other. We're all individual expressions. And if you're saying, oh, it's universal, what do you mean? It's all should be one. Well, what if we all needed to be our own individual expressions so we could experience love, so we can have someone to love? So we can have something to love, so we can understand the experience of love, so we can feel what that feels like. How do we know what that feels like unless we experience it? And so, what an incredible intelligence to say, okay, divide you up into infinite divisions to have those experiences and those relationships and those people and that nature happen through the concourse of the journey that is life. And to have moments of opportunity to go through struggle and to go through pain and to have joy and to feel that love and to experience that love. Right. And so I chose in that moment of what 10 years ago it would have been incredible sadness, and all I would have thought about for months and months and months and maybe years and years and years would be sadness and that she's not here anymore. But no, no, absolutely not. Nope, 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 no. I'm going to give this moment my best. And how can I give this moment my best? I can give this moment my best by choosing to experience gratitude in this moment. Thank you so much for all the incredible moments of inspiration. Thank you so much for all of the joy. Thank you so much for the energy, for the radiance and the love that you acted in and made choices to operate your life within, to that I can imitate you. I can model my life after you because of all of the love that I saw from the actions and choices you made to express that. Yes. Yes. Just as with Apple TV, okay? We got to bring it together. Here's Joe talking about his grandma. Well, what about all the most influential people in the world? Okay, Apple TV, and talking about Steve Jobs earlier. Steve Jobs realized the power that exists to be able to have a work of art that is a animated motion picture, computer graphic animated motion picture. What he was so inspired by with technology, to leverage that to create a document of work and a body of work and a body of art that could be loved for generations upon generations. And with the shows that Apple TV has now, with Ted Lasso, with Big Door Prize, and with Jony Ive and the incredible team that put this film together, The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse, I think that's the name of the movie, won an Academy Award. Talk about an incredible expression of just love and compassion and the ability to where if you got the phones off, these lovely gifts that Apple gifted us, to just silence them and put them away and engage and be present with an incredible work of art that picture, that motion picture. The mole asked the boy, what do you want to be when you grow up? He says kindness. He says kindness. And to be about to go to where he thought was his home, and he basically looked back at all his friends who he had made that he didn't realize he'd be friends with, and say, home is where the heart is. And thinking back on the Get Back documentary, we're tying all these things together. Yes, we are talking about stuff we talked about before because it's all connected. Yes, it is. Get Back documentary. Michael Lindsay Hogg is trying to talk about what's a big charity that we could do this for, when they're trying to talk about the intention of the program and the intention of what they're trying to do, and trying to share that with the world because of the influential people that the Beatles were in 1969, that all of the world was looking to them. What's the biggest charity in the world? And what does George say? He says, they say charity begins at home. They say charity begins at home. And what does everybody laughs. Everybody laughs, has a fun laugh about it. And then they just go about that. They go about that. And that's everything that was. That's everything that work of art and that creation was to show us a path. If we so choose to look at it with that perspective, show us a path home within, to find what's within, find our purpose, find what we should be expressing. Find that. Can we find that? Right? And to have that be, have those works of art and of love and of genuine care and love be what Apple TV is producing for the world. Steve Jobs, he is proud. He is so grateful. And to see what Pixar's doing and all of these films that they continue to make with Disney and Avatar. And by the way, Bob Iger, Tim Cook, you're talking about merging. You should. Can you look at the point of Avatar and the whole story around Avatar and life and all of it? You're both doing the same thing. Disney is still, of course, there's a lot of, first thing he comes in, we got to cut this, we got to cut that, we got to do this, we got to do, yes, of course. Same story that Steve did when he came back to Apple. Same story Steve had to do when he was at Next. Same story Steve had to do when he was at Pixar. Remove all the clutter and focus. As Jony Ive said, was one of the most impactful things that he imparted upon him. Right, Johnny? Focus. Focus. We need to focus. What if we did that more frequently? What if we made choices in every moment to be focused, to be more focused on something that we believe in, that we're giving it our best in every moment? What if we did that? Everything's connected. Can we see that? Can we see that if we give ourselves a chance and have an open mind? One of the philosophers said, you come to a point in which your life in which no idea is original. They've already been set. It's true. So true. But how often do we use those as seeds to then build off of, or to use those as ingredients on our own life to create and express the very best version of ourself? Our self is who we are inside and what our purpose is and what our energy is. And the best way I can convey to what was helpful for me in discovering myself, because they say, find yourself. What the hell does that even mean? No one knows what that means. I didn't know what that meant. But what if instead of we're finding ourselves, we're trying to remember the expressions of ourself, the moments that we were in the benefit of relativity, the moment where we forgot about time, the moment where we were having fun and being joyful. And what were the choices that we made to get ourselves into that? How do we make more of those choices? How do we make more of those choices to be in that element of flow, to where we're not thinking about time and we're just living? We're in life, in the present moment. Can we give ourselves a chance to do that? Yes, we can. Yes. And it's about finding what those things are and becoming reflecting on our own lives. Steve Jobs would say, he never looked back. He never looked back on choices that he made. It seems like my interpretation of that is he never looked back on choices that he made because he knew he could always change those choices or make something different or do something different. But he absolutely looked back on reflecting. 1000% he reflected. He 1000% reflected. 1000%. There's an email exchange. This was incredible. Like being able to read like an email exchange with Steve Jobs. Thank you, Steve Jobs Archive. Thank you. What? Be able to read an email exchange with Steve Jobs? He was emailing, he had so one of these lunches that he did where he randomly called people of influence and picked their brain, which every one of us, there are people with influence within every one of our lives. They don't need to be famous. Connect with people. Connect with people that were influential in our lives, or that we saw something in, or that we were a mentor to. Connect with them. Give them the love of selfless, of time. Of time. Give them your present moment to be engaging and have an engaging conversation in which you might forget about time. And it might be a special moment. And there might be a special series of present moments that you'll remember, and that will be a seed that you've planted for your own life.
I've got a quote here.
What do you got?
From Steve Jobs, which I think it works really well here. You can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backwards. So you have to trust that all the dots will somehow connect in your future. You have to trust in something, your gut, destiny, life, karma, whatever. This approach has never let me down. It has made all the difference in my life.
I just got goosebumps. Steve, I know you're here. And here's a beautiful mourning dove just walking and prancing her way closer to me. That's my grandma. Hi, Grandma. Oh my God, so beautiful. So true. So true. Connecting the dots. That's what we're doing here on Be Insanely Great. I know we're living up to what you want for Be Insanely Great, Steve. I know it. I don't need to ask you. I know you're giving me the validations. You are absolutely giving me the validations. And I'm so honored and grateful to have that opportunity. Thank you. And to have the disposition that Steve had to be able to make those connections. Going back to the email reference, we'll tell that story real quick. So we connected one of these guys at Intel, and while he was at Pixar, and he was saying he had a lunch with one of these guys and said, "Oh, we should exchange ideas." And so one of the junior engineers followed up with him and said, "Oh, yeah, I was following up on this conversation you had with the senior guy, and I just wanted to check what, if there's times that's good for you." And he basically responded back and with the head guy, with the senior guy at Intel on CC, and said, "Oh yeah, absolutely, but there's value there. And what do you intend Intel to compensate Pixar for that? Because the amount of energy and the amount of love that went into creating all of that, there's value there. And Pixar needs to be compensated for that. Pixar needs to be compensated for that." And so email exchanges go back and forth, and he's basically going back and forth with this junior engineer, where essentially the junior engineer says, "We're not compensating you. And, that's what everybody feels like. If you don't want to, that's fine." And then Steve emails the senior guy and says, "Steve, I don't know where this junior guy's coming from, but I don't know what planet he's on, but you guys got to pay us, or else we're not going to exchange ideas, because that's the world we're in. That's how we operate. We have value. You need to pay for that value." The senior guy at Intel responds to, because it was basically their graphics processors, all this stuff. And Pixar had a lot of value in that space, and because they had made these movies and all that stuff. So the head guy that Steve had originally talked about doing this with responded to Steve when Steve emailed him and said, "I don't know what this guy's talking about. We need to be paid." The head guy responded to Steve and said, "Steve, I fully support the junior engineer. We're not paying you. And if you don't want to have the conversation, that's totally fine. No judgment, no harm, done. And, we'll just go about our separate ways and doing our thing. No problem. No problem." So that's how the senior guy at Intel left it. And it was funny because the response times were pretty quick, within, if not the same day, within a few hours, usually 5 to 10 days go by. One of the main elements of that email in which the senior guy at Intel said to Steve was, "In my experience, these things all balance out in the end." Steve tried to understand. That's my interpretation of his intention with the time span that occurred between his responses. He might have had something going on in his life, whatever, but I'd like to believe he was trying to understand where they were coming from. He was trying to understand what their circumstance was and understand this blip that the senior guy at Intel said, that these things usually balance themselves out, right? And maybe Steve thought about the fact that, okay, if Intel improves their graphic processors, that means people will be able to watch movies on TV or on their computers. And that way they'll be able to watch Pixar movies on their computers and they'll look better and they'll have a greater experience. Maybe that's something he thought of, because he went back 10 days later and said, okay, we'll meet. I'll get the Pixar team and we'll all meet and I'll be and we'll exchange ideas and I'll make sure they're available and all of that. So he was so dead set on making sure he was getting compensated and the Pixar team was getting compensated. So dead set. And he was like bothered by, what's this guy saying? Of course we're going to get compensated. We're not telling you anything. And then to change his mind and to have a new level of awareness and understanding after having thought about it, to say, you know what, you're right. You're right. I thought about it. All the pieces kind of come together. And yeah, there's value for us to exchange this without any sort of monetary exchange. Right? How incredible. How incredible. So many people have quoted and have said, you know, a true sign of intelligence is the ability to change your mind and the ability to be open-minded and the ability to try and understand, right? That's what he did. What an incredible example of one thing of a thing that he did in such a, you know, kind of a high stakes thing, right? That probably would have been an exchange of millions and millions of dollars, you know, something beneficial for Pixar and also beneficial for Intel to have had that insight from the Pixar team and Steve Jobs and all of that. But to trust, going back to Steve Jobs' quote and trusting your gut, trusting your destiny, trusting whatever it is that you believe that's inside of us that we express, trusting that everything will balance, right? So incredible. Steve, incredible. Thank you, universe. You know, 2/14, Valentine's Day, which happened to be the 6-month anniversary of me meditating. I started meditating August 14th, 2022, and 2/14 and the day, and 2/13 was the day we shot the trailer, the day before. So it was the day before the 6-month anniversary of my you know, meditation of being silent and trying to let that silence and that stillness find and express the whatever it is that was inside that was supposed to come out, which I think is this. Have such a great time, and oh my God, we're in the benefit of relativity every moment. Absolutely. Oh my God, what?
I'll have to send you an article I was trying to read this week, but it's very scientific. It was about quantum entanglement just got a whole lot weirder. And they're starting to observe it between particles that are not the same now.
True. Let's go back to science for a moment. So in a previous episode, we talked about the electron and all these like crazy things. It's so round that you can't, that it's so round that it's rounder than they thought. The scientists took for decades, spent time developing measurement devices to where if an electron that's a part of an atom, a fundamental particle of all that is, was the size of our Earth, they could find an imperfection the size of a sugar crystal. What? That's incredible. What? Didn't find any perfectly round. Oh, and also there's like, you know, they say that 95% of our universe is dark matter, that we don't know what it is and we can't see it. There's no matter, there's no measurable matter mass within an electron. Okay? Oh, here's the thing I forgot last time. Forgot to mention. Do you know what a yotta is? No, it's not Yoda from Star Wars. It's not the little beautiful George Lucas creature of wisdom. Spelled differently. YOTTA. YOTTA is 10 to the 24th power. Bless you, Riley.
Thank you.
Yoda is 10 to the 24th power. 8 zeros. You know, they say 3 comma club, billionaire, whatever. 8 commas. 8 commas. Oh, Yoda year. 1 Yoda year. It's 10 to the 24th power. Electrons' lifespan, as far as we can measure currently, is 66,000 Yoda years. 66,000 Yoda years. To put that in perspective, that equates to 5 quintillion times the current age of our universe. 5 quintillion times the current known measured age of our universe is the lifespan of an electron, which carry a negative charge, which, you know, a deficiency of electrons within the medical field creates disease and all of these horrible things to the human body. Could it be as simple as when we give positive vibes, love, positive vibes, that we're attracting these immortal, fundamental particles to us to that have this energy? Could it be? Maybe. I don't know. I'm no scientist. I'm not choosing to be in this moment. I'm just referencing other smart people that have spent decades of their life measuring these things, defining these things, trying to help us understand these things, right? Incredible. What? Mechanics of quantum physics. So many people say life is way more simple than we, I've said that and I believe that. Like life is, if there is this universal intelligence, why would life be so complicated? Why would life be so complicated? Could it be that the choices we're making are making it complicated? We continue to look outside our worlds in everything, whether it be a person that's here in their physical body, or maybe they passed on, right? Maybe it's a person that we think is no longer here. But what if we believe that they're here? What if we believe that they're here? That we're not having to look, what if we looked at death as a lesson in that regard? Then instead of having to look to a physical being that we see that's right here, that's living and breathing and within our sense of sight, what if that person's, that energy of that person's in here and has always been here? Has always been here. What a life lesson that death is, to help us look inside if we want to feel any element of joy, if we want to feel any element of happiness as it relates to that person that we love, and we spend so many incredible moments with, that we choose to remember them for that we choose to be that energy and to express that energy, right? Incredible. We look outside for everything. Approval, other people's thoughts, what people think, things, all the things that exist. What if everything that we're creating and that we're building is actually a version of what's already inside? The internet. Steve Jobs had a ton of quotes about the internet. It's the interconnectedness of all things. It's this web of information. We're in the information age. Never has there been so much information for us to try and understand, right? So much potential with the internet and all the interconnectedness of all the things and the world and commerce and all that is in terms of what humans create. And that's another thing. He saw everything. He told this story when he was a child, that he got this kit that basically helped him understand, oh, these beautiful mourning doves are flying around. He got this kit. He was a kid where he understood, and he had neighbors in his community where he had an understanding from a very early age that things don't just happen in our world. We create these things. The number of choices and the number of decisions that go into everything that exists in our physical realities is a series of choices that human beings in present moments made over generations, over lifetimes, over every span of time, right? And so he realized that at such a young age, and that inspiration seemed to have catapulted him to a level of influence within society, to where he was able to use that and understand the mechanics of how business happens and how creation of impactful things happen. Wow. And then continue to inspire others. But all of those are outside. And what if again, and just tying everything together and having it be this circle of life, as they say in The Lion King. Isn't that The Lion King? I think. I don't know. Thank you, Disney. Circle of life, right? is if we can express it and it's outside and we appreciate it and we have gratitude, then we go back to that and we go back home to that, and then we express that again in something new and something different, and we continue to do that, and we express and do something great, and then we go find that again, and then we express it again, whether it's Kobe in a great game or Michael Jordan in a great game. Which, by the way, correction, Riley, please pull up one of Michael Jordan's incredibly inspirational quotes. But I had said in a previous episode, we'll drop these corrections in every once in a while. I couldn't find the where I had said Michael Jordan said that we stand on the shoulders of giants. There's a page that someone built in which that was the title of the page. And so that's where I inferred that he had said that. But from what I can find, I want to get the facts straight and make sure we're not putting words in Michael Jordan's mouth that he didn't say. But talk about someone expressing, Michael Jordan expressing your like just being and believing and not letting ever anything else. Talk about focus. Michael Jordan was the epitome of focus on basketball and only basketball and being the very best on the planet. And he did that in every moment. He found that was his purpose. And he expressed that always, believing in himself in on every moment of every game. And I bet you if you ask him the moments where he was, didn't have a good game or didn't believe in himself, like he was not focused. He was not focused, I bet you, if you ask him. Michael, help us out. But yes, an expression. Any athlete, any person that does something that they believe in, that they put true love and intention and care in. Whether you're designing a product, whether you're engineering a software platform, whether you're writing a song, painting, sculpting, architecting, gardening, taking care of people, all the first responders and all the incredible medical professionals out there who are selfless in their choice to be in a hospital in these places where nobody wants to be. Nobody wants to go to the hospital, but they choose to go there every day. And be there and be present and to give people love in moments of pain and probably some of the worst moments of their lives, and they're choosing to smile and to help give them something to focus on that's not the tragic or terrible thing that they're dealing with in that moment. How selfless, how incredible for these people to do that for humanity. And how incredible for these people having those experiences. I was one of them. I had a kidney stone like 2 years ago. It was terrible. My God, and it happened at like the worst time, but at the best time. And the people that were so, so incredible, and making me feel welcomed and everything's going to be okay. And this might suck right now, but it's going to be fine. We'll figure it out. You're not the first kidney stone. It's going to be okay. It used to be something that killed people. Not anymore, thanks to the advances of medicine. But I realized when the 6 to 12 months prior to that, I had, maybe eaten some things that would facilitate that production. But I was also probably the most stressed in my life that I was ever. Right? And is that something that then expressed as an ailment, that then expressed as a kidney stone? Because that's where my feelings were. That's where my attention was. I was stressed. And instead of connecting with my inner purpose and realizing that was even a thing, didn't know that was a thing. I was just thinking and feeling and going through life like we all do, just operating, dealing with the stress of work and all this stuff. And then what if that expresses us in that way? Is that possible? I mean, if we're talking, and all the people that talk about manifesting and and all of the facts from the mechanics of quantum physics are true, and we want to manifest good things, well, just as we have to consciously be aware to think positive. We have to consciously be aware to choose joy and to choose love and to express and feel happiness. It doesn't only work that way, it works the other way too. works negative too. So the universe just has one answer, as Bruce Lipton says. It's yes. The universe says yes to everything. Universal intelligence, you're so smart. Why wouldn't it be that easy? That all you do is say yes. And whatever we think and what we feel then expresses in our environment. So if we're always thinking about things that we don't want, anxiety and stress and all of these things, and absolutely it's hard. It's first to admit it's so hard to first be aware that that's happening and that we're doing that. And second, be aware that we have a choice and that it might not all go away tomorrow. It might not all go away in a week or a month. But you know what? If we consistently, as Steve Jobs sent the email to all of Apple with Aristotle's quote, excellence is a habit. It's what we do consistently. So if we can consistently choose joy, if we can consistently choose the things we want to choose, what might happen in our lives? A lot more good things than we ever could have imagined. Is that possible? If we give ourselves a chance? Maybe, if we believe it. If we think it and we believe it and we feel it and we focus on it and we give it attention, and just the same focus we want to give to something we're creating for a company that's going to, sell this product and do or sell this value of this thing that we're building so we can earn a living. The same focus we give to that, can we give to our lives so that we don't lose life? So that we are in life in every moment? Can we do that? Yes, yes. Yes, we can. Yes, we can. Man. Incredible. We got a Michael Jordan quote. What do you got?
Almost the opposite. I've got a Viktor Frankl quote.
Viktor Frankl. Who's Viktor Frankl? It sounds familiar.
So he was the one who wrote Man's Search for Meaning. Sort of was the first half of that book is his experience in Auschwitz. The second half is more the psychology of sort of a form of psychology that he developed after the war. But to talk about seeing the worst of humanity and coming through that, and it actually came up in the ABCs of Success. It's quoted. He quotes some of this. Frankl says, everything can be taken from man but one thing, the last of human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way. So it's not just when things are going really well. It's in every moment you need to choose to be, definitive on how you're living that life. You're going to put it out there and it's going to come back.
So true. You get what you give. We get what we give. The squirrel's looking at me. He's on his back. He's on his back thing. There's another one just lounging on the fence. Just laugh at life. We have these circumstances that come into our lives and they're like the worst thing that can happen. Our lives could be blowing up professionally, personally, whatever. Someone's angry at us. Someone hates us. Someone's, telling us things that we know are true, that are good, that they're saying they're terrible. How we react to things is what we have control over. We don't owe anybody anything and nobody owes us anything. If they choose to give us things that are negative, the same that we don't owe them a response that's negative. We choose that response. So we can choose to laugh at it and say, you go do you. You're on your own journey. I'm not going to get involved in that. And not let it affect us, because the moment we choose to let it affect us, the moment we choose to feel those feelings of negativity that, oh my God, maybe they're right. Maybe it is terrible. Maybe it is bad. We immediately, and I've done it absolutely, gone into a downward spiral of questioning and throwing daggers of doubt and spears and fear and every one of the things that I've thought about that I know are good. We immediately do that. I immediately did that. Absolutely. Dozens and dozens, hundreds of times. We've all done it. If we're honest with ourselves and we reflect and look back and connect the dots, as Steve Jobs says, if we're honest with ourselves, we've all done it. Right? And so, all potentials exist in the present moment. We are here. We are present. I am recording this today on this beautiful day. You are listening or watching this at a future time. But I am right now influencing your present moment. And right now you are influencing my present moment. I don't need to hear your reaction to realize you're influencing my present moment. Quantum entanglement and the mechanics of quantum physics have proven that. Right? At the heart of our universe, as far as we can find, born 33 billion light years away. James Webb Telescope found this universe that was born 320 million years after the Big Bang, as they supposedly can measure. The scientist says it has a heartbeat. It happens to be a red universe that we see, whatever, fine. Based on the infrared, spectronics of it. It has a heartbeat. It's producing stars at the same rate as our Milky Way, even though it's 100 times less massive. What? Heartbeat is at the center of our universe. There's a heartbeat inside of us. What's outside is what's inside. Right? It's incredible. But it's so simple. So simple if we give ourselves a chance to look at it through that lens, look at it with that perspective. Michael Beckwith, another one, incredible. I mentioned his book. I said something like prosperity. So it's prosperity, plenitude, and infinite possibilities. Thank you, Michael Beckwith. There was a couple key short book. Look at this. I mean, you can read this book in whatever. Take 10 minutes a day for a week, and you should be able to read this book. For those that don't read, which was me, sitting here looking at this stack of books, I'm like, God, I can't believe I read this many books. But yes, it happened. And he talks a lot about removing the. It's almost like if we looked at our inner being and our inner soul and our inner spirit or inner energy, whatever we want to call it, as pure, and every element of life that is not based in goodness, that is not based in love, that is not based in selfless choices, adds an element of fog and adds an element of I'll say it, confusion, right? Or complexity or sophistication that doesn't really add any value. If we looked at it like that, it's like when we're connecting with our inner presence, it's almost removing some of that fog. And when we can connect with that and have that connection and express that, talk about leverage. We talk about leverage as something you use with money, but leverage is absolutely something we can use with our own energy. Talk about being able to do things in a way that's just what is, the baseline of perfection that all we see in nature. What if we gave ourselves a chance to look at it that way? Right. Another thing he says in there is that when meditating and being in silence and having a feeling, and once we have a perspective to understand what a feeling of joy and a feeling of happiness feels like, and feeling that, as I said before, and you feel it in your fingers and you can feel it in your toes, all these songs that say all that, you can do it. I feel it in my fingers and I feel it in my toes, and it's feeling that and expressing it, and then giving, using numbers as a multiplication to be able to multiply that feeling, like, feeling that and then feeling it and then multiplying that by the biggest number, and then feeling that and feeling it again and again and again, and growing and expanding and building on that. As Einstein says, you can't solve a problem with the same level of consciousness that created it. So if the problem is our awareness that, I don't want to be in this life of just looking for the next thing and not being in the present moment, let's say that's the problem. And let's say to elevate that, our consciousness is continue to build, continue to grow. It's not something that regresses. It doesn't go backwards. It continues to build. It only goes backwards when we choose to go backwards. It only goes backwards when we choose to go backwards. And so if we can continue to build on that, continue to grow, and continue to develop and get to a point in which our focus on our life is our acceptance of truths, that becomes part of who we are. To where we operate that way in our present moment, we're not having to analyze, do I believe this, or do I feel this, or is this something I believe is true? No, that's too complicated. That's way too complicated. If this universal intelligence is so smart, that's not something that would be a requirement. It would be way more simple than that. Way more simple. Right? and in a previous episode, I talked about toxic relationships and letting them go, and finding our way out of that, and choosing relationships of embrace and love and joy. But sometimes relationships aren't toxic. Sometimes they're just not either on our wavelength, or they're not, it's we have a focus on something that's a certain thing that we want to do, or who we want to be, and we've connected with that. And sometimes there's relationships in our life that might seem important that just start to fade away. And that's okay. That's okay. If we accept it as being okay, and we can only, if we feel bad that we need to be with somebody, or see, then that's our choice to feel bad. If we want to feel bad, we choose to feel bad. But we can also choose to feel like, to make selfless choices for ourselves, for once in our lives. And then once we fill our own cup, it can overflow, and we can help other people. And we can be connected with those people in that way. And in a new way, and in a new light, and in a new radiance beyond what we were in before, where we're typically talking about people or talking about events instead of talking about ideas and thoughts and things like that. Right? To think about things, understand things, as Steve Jobs did, and as many of the most intelligent and influential people have done. Understand. The value of understanding is immeasurable. Immeasurable.